Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri 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 Ram, Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Jai Ram. 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 Om Shri Ram. Good. Don't go anywhere. Shri Ram, Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram. Huh? If you want, you can take it. Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram.
Jai Ram. Data. Jai Jai. Diliya.
This PPT is not, projector is not working. Projector is not working.
Very well. It is not.
It's not working now.
You can call him. Shinoji can call him. Yesterday he came, made it out. Jai Jai Ram Om Sri Ram Jai Ram. It should be shared, okay? Here I have got now. Working. Okay. Right, switch off this light. Jai Jai Ram. Jai Jai Ram. Jai Ram. Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. 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 Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai 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 Jai Ram Om. You did not tell him. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shanoj, Shanoj. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. The good video.
The white and small project.
இந்த இது ഒന്നുമില്ല ശരിയാവില്ല
We are not able to do much. We have been checking out.
എന്താ രസമായിരുന്നല്ലോ.
What is he saying is these switches won't work. Shinoj is telling that switch is not working. The projector switch is not working. Only remote is the way he is telling. Remote is not on. So
Yesterday it was working, you know.
it is some issue. So I can bring the vital one. Wait.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Hari Om to everybody. This one. ഇത് പിന്നെ വെക്കാം. As we explained yesterday, Param Pujya Papa, who was then known as Vittal Rao, after passing through stressful period, took total refuge in the Almighty Lord of the universe through remembering Him by chanting His name and dwelling on His various attributes. And on 27th December 1922, God made him to take the leap where he was totally relying, totally means 100% relying on God and God alone. So he wrote, after he came back, the experiences he gained, which has been chronicled under the title In Quest of God. So he writes, before he starts the chapter, he writes these words. It was about 2 years ago, that was in 1920, that Ram first kindled in the heart of his humble slave Ramdas a keen desire to realize his infinite love. You see how he has begun, no? Silently you don't. It was about 2 years ago in 1920 that Ram first kindled in the heart of his humble slave Ramdas a keen desire to realize his infinite love, L capital. To strive to approach and understand Ram is to recede from the world of vanishing forms, because Ram is the only truth, the only reality. And now he defines who is Ram or what is Ram. Ram is a subtle and mysterious power that pervades and sustains the whole universe. Birthless and deathless is he. He is present in all things and in all creatures who only appear as separate entities due to their ever-changing forms. To wake up from this illusion of forms is to realize at once the unity or love of Ram. Love of Ram means love of all beings, all creatures, all things in this world. Because Ram is in all is in Ram. Ram is all in all. To realize this great truth, we who through ignorance feel as separate individuals should submit ourselves to the will and working of that infinite power, that infinite love, Ram, who is one and all-pervading. By a complete surrender to the will of Ram, we lose consciousness of the body, which keeps us aloof from him, and find ourselves in a state of complete identification and union with Ram, who is in us and everywhere around us. In this condition, hatred, which means consciousness of diversity, ceases, and love, consciousness of unity, is realized. Love, consciousness of unity, that which is common in all. No? Having reached this stage, we, by the awakened consciousness of unity or love, are naturally prompted to sacrifice all the interests that concern the body for the welfare of our fellow men and fellow creatures, who are all manifestations of the same Ram. This was the great sacrifice of Buddha, of Jesus, and has been of Mahatma Gandhi in our own times. These three great men are the fullest manifestations of Ram, the great truth, the infinite love, Om Shri Ram. So before we start reading his first book, this is how he introduces. Many of us straight away go to the first chapter, so that is why we were not deriving the fullest benefit. Or, in other words, we were thinking that is the narrative of his Parivrajaka Yatra. That means that is also separate from us. In Quest of God is related to us. In Quest of God is related to us very much. So long as we feel that is the narrative of beloved Papa about his Parivrajaka Yatra, it becomes an academic exercise for us to go through that and enjoy it to some extent. But the moment we do a little more in-depth study, we come to learn that it is completely related to our own life. In other words, it will make us know that we are all in quest of God. Every incident has got some message for all of us in our daily life. When we try to integrate our life experience with the contents of the text, then we come to know that it is something like a manual. When we buy a gadget or a machinery, the manufacturer gives us a manual. When we want to initiate it, just now we saw, we initiate it, we need the guidance. Whenever there is something wrong anywhere, we try to make use of that manual. Similarly, this is a manual of life. All of us are passing through various ups and downs in our life. In a mysterious way, we are made to go through challenges, duties, commitments, and sometimes we are able to handle it, sometimes we are unable to handle it. So, what is the technique by which we will be able to maintain the sense of equanimity and become positive in all trying moments? That is the lesson Papa gives us through this narrative. So let us not even think that it is the narrative of somebody. It is a manual of life for our own daily existence. So last year, 2022, was the centenary year of Papa Sanyas. Sanyas in the sense, not in the traditional way he took sannyas, absolutely non-traditional. So then he came back. So when we were prompted to do an in-depth study of this In Quest of God, he made it possible for us to stretch it for 1 year. Every week there will be something sharing. Every week, 42 weeks. And then on the time of the centenary celebration, we were also able to bring out a few boards. And in every board, there is a message for us from him. The first part is the narrative of ours, and the second part is the words of wisdom of Papa. Yesterday, due to various circumstances, we couldn't show it and we couldn't explain it well. So today we will make a trial to go through each and every board, do some manana, so that the words by itself conveys only a superficial idea. But the same words, when it is dwelt deeply, it touches and kindles so many things in us. This is what is needed. This is what is known as manana. Reading or understanding at the superficial level will not help us much, though it is necessary. What is more important is to try to assimilate or absorb the theme contained in the expression. So we will make a trial. It is there for them also? Share. You can share? I don't have to see. I can look at it that also. Okay, I will look at it.
Look and change some. Why do you need to?
Otherwise, this will be convenient for me.
It will go on its own, huh?
This you can take. Let them be. They will be there, This need not be there. This need not be there,
It It is needed, no? They have to
It
see.
will be hidden, you know.
No, Swami, it is
They
a
will
screen
see
share.
It can't be hidden.
No.
They will be there, they will be seeing it, but it will be like this only. I
It
don't
will
think.
go on saying.
Anyway, it's all right. Let us not waste time. Papa Swami Ramdas's okay. First long journey as a mendicant. Vittal Rao, as beloved Papa Swami Ramdas was known before embracing sannyas, was struggling in the whirlpool of worldly life. All of you can see? Hari Om. You can see? Huh?
Next, it is not going to next slide.
You take it there, no? I don't have to see it, no? No. Vittal Rao, as beloved Papa Swami Ramdas was known before embracing sannyas, was struggling in the whirlpool of worldly life until he was lifted up by the indwelling infinite power. He felt that he was called by the divine to leave his cocooned life of severe limits and fling himself into the vast open sky of limitless infinity. He felt that he was called by the divine to leave his cocooned life of severe limits. Cocooned life is sense of individuality, cage of me and mine. So, and fling himself into the vast open sky of limitless infinity. This was his first long journey as a mendicant, traversing from the deep south to the far north, entirely relying on the indwelling reality alone, every day, every step, and every breath. This is the route map. I don't know whether you can see. Starting from Mangalore. He was then in Mangalore. Starting from Mangalore, you can see how he has traveled to the north and then came back to Mangalore. So, Mangalore, first one. Mangalore, first one. Both if you have to handle, you can handle now. Somebody can handle it. Somebody can handle, no. Even Dilip can handle. Mangalore. Ask him to mute. Mute. Papa Swami Ramdas's endless struggles in his mundane life, resulting in utter helplessness, led his advent into the world as a mendicant. He heard the inner voice of God. In the first chapter of In Quest of God, he writes, he was passing through the period of terrible stress. The book is there, In Quest of God.
Inquest of here, hit him.
He says, for nearly a year, Ramdas struggled on in a world full of cares, anxieties, and pains. It was a period of terrible stress and restlessness, all of his own making. Where is relief? In this utterly helpless condition full of misery, where is relief? Where is rest? This was the heart's cry of Ramdas. The cry was heard, and from the great void came the voice, "Despair not, trust me, thou shalt be free." In this utterly helpless condition full of misery, where is relief, where is rest? This was the heart's cry of Ramdas. The cry was heard, and from the great void, G and V capital. So the indwelling and all-pervading reality has been first named as the great void. From that it came the voice, "Despair not, trust me, and thou shalt be free." And this was the voice of Ram. So Ramdas's endless struggles in his mundane life, resulting in utter helplessness, led his advent into the world as a mendicant. He heard the inner voice of God. It was like a plank thrown towards a man struggling for very life in the stormy waves of a raging sea. On 27th December 1922, at 5 o'clock in the morning, he left Mangalore by train, by bidding farewell to a world for which he had lost all attraction and in which he could find nothing to call his own. The body, the mind, the soul, all were laid at the feet of God. The red ones are the words of Papa. A seeker's likes and dislikes, favors and prejudices set up a thick wall on his path. He should fling himself into the infinite life. In other words, we can say we have to rise ourselves from the present level to a higher level, a still more higher level, and to the highest level. That is spiritual journey. From the present mental state of me and mine, we try to raise ourselves to a little more higher. All of us are doing it. It is not a new thing for us. Now we have to connect up those incidents, then only we will be able to understand. As children, as parents, as teachers, as students, as bosses, as colleagues or subordinates, as friends, there had been many instances where we were able to raise ourselves from the present level to a higher level when there was a crisis. Think about it. If we are to be completely influenced by me and mine, those who were there, we would not have been able to reach this state. So in our personal life, our family life, our professional life, our social life, we were able to lead a peaceful life only because we were able to raise ourselves. But it has not been constant. Sometimes we are in a position to raise, sometimes we are not in a position to raise. And we never knew that by raising ourselves we were able to enjoy. That also we did not know. Because everything we attributed to the me and mine. I was able to handle that situation, that's all. I did like that. Where the me and mine was predominating, so even when we were raising ourselves to a higher level, we were not knowing that we had God made us to raise to a higher level. Whenever our children were asking so many things repeatedly, we were patiently answering, think. That means we were able to raise ourselves from the individual. There might be so many instances in the worldly life, at home, and also in the professional life. So that is what is important here. So Papa says, a seeker's likes and dislikes, favors and prejudices set up a thick wall on his path. He should fling himself into the infinite life. Srirangam. These are all the places he covered. Passing through Erode and Trichy, Papa was guided to the banks of Kaveri, where he renounced all that he was holding dearly, including his name Vittal Rao. For him, Sanyas was like being lifted by the divine, from the narrow pond of a worldly life and thrown into the extensive ocean of a universal life. Sanyas is a dedication of our entire being to the Lord and His service. It is a spontaneous wave of aspiration rising from within our own heart. Here, if he tries to make us understand, normally when we hear the word sannyas, all of us must have developed so many concepts. But here, he defines it in a different way. It is a spontaneous aspiration to leave everything. Why leave everything? Not to renounce. Because we have shifted our priority to something more than what we have. The common denominator in us, the common factor in us, the source of all sources. And sannyas is a discipline by which we are constantly reminded. When Papa took such a momentous decision, when he reached Srirangam, you know the three vows he took. The first one was, henceforth, this life will be totally consecrated to the meditation and service of Ram. This word is very important. Meditation of Ram and service of Ram. Internally dwelling on him, externally serving him through his forms. So sannyas, in that way he made us to understand it is the process of expansion from the limited to the unlimited. From me to we. From the finite to the infinite. So he took a vow. He has to come out of the cage of me and mine. Otherwise, we will be identifying only with a small circle. Family, friends, that's all. Or relations. Here it is an attempt to widen the circle in which the family is also there, not that they are discarded. And the second vow was, hereafter we will look every mother, every lady, every other gender as mothers. And the third one was, henceforth he will be purely living on the alms procured by bhiksha. That means these two are the purely indication of self-control and free from possessiveness and possessions. So that is why he said, sannyas is a dedication of our entire being to the Lord. When I have got cravings for the sense objects, entire dedication cannot come. When I am craving for some possession, that also occupies my mind space, entirety will not come. So through these three vows, he makes it clear to us that sannyas means expansion from the limited to the unlimited, freeing ourselves from the cravings of the sense objects, sense organs and senses, and also to be free from any type of possessions. Then we move from there to Rameshwaram and Dhanushkodi, throwing himself entirely at the feet of God. Papa travelled wherever he was guided to with an empty pocket, just 2 clothes and a few books, all his possessions in the world. Hurdles did not hold him back. He managed to find something positive in every experience. Where others found prickly thorns, he saw fragrant roses. Optimism, Papa says, optimism leads you Godward, while pessimism pushes you down into the morass of skepticism, despair, and woe. The first and foremost quality he indirectly tells us is, In every venture, not only in the spiritual journey, optimistic. Somewhere he says three things: fixed resolve, sustained faith, optimistic outlook. Any project when we enter into, we should have fixed resolve, no? Not vacillating. Absolutely convinced, and we are committed to it. Fixed resolve. Sustained faith in the words of our masters or the guides or the experience of the wise ones. And then, last one is optimistic outlook. Optimistic outlook means not the literal meaning. Anything that happens to us in our road journey, we try to understand that God is behind everything. God is behind my very existence. God is behind every situation. God is behind every object. So nothing can go wrong. Apparently, if I feel not at all comfortable, if apparently I feel I get stressed because of certain events, immediately my mind will say that there is some purpose behind it. We don't know the purpose at the moment, but ultimately it is to make us the fit ones to deliver the assignment He has allotted to us. So in that way, every incident can be made positive. Suppose I walk out, I fall, I get fractured somewhere. Immediately you rush up and say, what happened? If I am in a position to say, luckily there is no head injury, no? There may be a fracture of the leg or the hand. So that means we are shifting. Otherwise, our mind will be groaning, mumbling, complaining. What a time I have chosen to fall. No? So many things. I'll be immobile for some time. Lot of problems are there, lot of programs are there. Instead of that, luckily, by His grace, there was no head injury. So like that in every situation. For those who have not gone through In Quest of God, there one particular incident, he was traveling through Rameshwaram by train, naturally without any tickets. So the TT at one station asked them to get down. He doesn't initiate anything, Even to get into a train, if somebody comes and guides him to get into, okay. Because he takes Ram is guiding him at every moment. So he names it as Sadhu Ram, anybody who comes and guides him. So the Sadhu Ram and Papa had to get down. The Sadhu Ram started grumbling and complaining and abusing the TT. Does he not know that we don't have money? Why should he make us to walk and all those things? Papa immediately said, and he said, we have got 6 miles to walk. So Papa immediately says, normally pilgrims are to be done on foot. God has been extremely kind enough to make us travel in the train up to this. And we have only to walk 6 miles. See, how to make a negative one to a positive one, he gives a pakka example. 6 miles I have to walk, one expression. Only 6 miles to go. That is what he said. Optimism leads you Godward, while pessimism pushes you down into the morass of skepticism, despair, and woe. Madurai. As his one and only guide and guardian led him further. You see the G capital, that means God. As his one and only guide and guardian led him further, he saw many wonders of art and architecture. Those who have gone to Madurai temple, they will see that, no? He was taken to. But behind, this is a very beautiful expression, but behind every carved stone and beneath every masterpiece, he found the signature of his master. Normally, when we go to such a massive structure, We immediately say, ah, beautiful, wonderful, what a work they have done, all those things. We hardly recognize the indwelling power who has prompted that particular Raja to plan for it, and an army of sculptors and sevaks to build that up. The power behind it. And it comes out in the form of creativity. Creativity comes from inside only. Easy example is when we try to learn the cycling, we fail half a dozen times, we fall half a dozen times, so many bruises, but with perseverance we keep on trying. One day we get the balance. Where from we get the balance? Do we get it from outside? Everybody is keeping quiet? It is coming from inside. So everything comes, what is latent in us, our job is to make it expressive. So that is what here he says, as his one and only guide and guardian led him further. He saw many wonders of art and architecture, but behind every carved stone and beneath every masterpiece, he found the signature of his master. Every towering structure showed him the splendorous glory of the Creator. So he says, be the light unto yourself, and in your own original way, manifest the magnificence and power of your enlightened life. Be highly creative and set free the infinite power that is within you. All that we see now is an expression of that. Be the light unto yourself. Don't seek light from outside. That is why we have not been able to unearth. Everything so far we have mastered in our own way, whether it is cooking, whether it is household management, whether it is professional targets, everywhere. We ultimately know, the breakthrough comes from within us. Our struggle is only to bring it out. Through various methods, we get the inner prompting. With the guidance from outside, we try to go within, and anything that we have done. Today, what we see as a creature comfort, it is the expressed form of creativity. So he says, be highly creative, set free the infinite power that is within you. Chidambaram. His path was often paved with hurdles, but with no grumbling or mumbling. He went on, embracing every situation cheerfully. At unexpected corners, he found the generous providence of God. He did as exactly he was prompted to. At the same time, whenever things did not happen as expected, he took even the non-fulfillment as his will and wish. When we plan so many things, we pray for so many things, we plan for so many things, we try to get into activities for so many things, but every time it need not necessarily be in the way in which it should end. So here, Papa says that the non-fulfillment and the fulfillment, we name it, the labeling is done by us. But the great power behind this and his own plans to make us to move. So he doesn't put that label. So everything is attributed to him. The label is given by our sense of individuality. So if we are in a position to know this to a very great extent, we will have the cushioning effect whenever we pass through the labeled adverse situations. So he says, Life must flow spontaneously like a river. Whatever act you do will, in this condition, be utterly divine. Don't have any misgivings or doubts. Push on until the great truth within you reveals itself in all its glory through every part of your being. That means let us not be guided by the result. No? We precondition our mind with the result, and when it is not up to our expectation, we get disgusted, we get disappointed, dispirited, dejected. So to get over that, Papa gives this from his experience. These are not dictums or dogmas or theories, from his own experience. So don't have any misgivings and doubts, push on. From there we move to Tirupapuriyur. Surprises awaited him everywhere. Strangers became friends. Those who misjudged his attire and appearance and called him names later came to realize his worth and became admiring benefactors. In unfriendly encounters, he would never react on impulse. Eventually, they turned out to be benevolent experiences. Because in his dictionary, there is nothing called negative. Do not forget that you live and move in a world which is really a passing show. Don't be attached to it, nor be in any way identified with it. Take the whole world game for what it is worth. This makes us to think, our own life, right from the moment we started knowing or our mind started working, from childhood days up to till today. How many times we have shifted our priorities, preferences, likes and dislikes, our goal to be achieved. How many times we have changed. But we still don't believe that this is a passing show. What was one time very important for us, it has lost its importance later. As we kept on moving in life, many things dropped off by itself even without our knowing, and we keep on shifting the priorities, but all the time we are unaware that this is a passing show. Every time we get identified with it, and therefore we pass through, we name it certain things as unpalatable or trying or stressful period. So do not forget that you live and move in a world which is really a passing show. Do not be attached to it, nor be in any way identified with it. Take the whole world game for what it is worth. Pondicherry. God proposes, God disposes. That is how the old saying went for Papa Swami Ramdas. Normally when we were students, we heard this word, man proposes, God disposes. Here the man is not there. So the proposing factor and the disposing factor, both are in him. So he was not at all affected. Only when I propose and when it is not fruitioned, I became upset. For him, God proposes, God disposes. That is how the old saying meant for Papa Swami Ramdas. Since he always believed that God is the guide, unfulfilled outcomes did not lead him to despair or disappointment. Like a feather drifting in the breeze, he wandered along without any resistance or reluctance. Human life is rich with the gifts which God has poured into it, for God himself is at the source of all lives in the world. This should be always hammered, That is why he took to this chanting, for this remembrance. Human life is rich with gifts which God has poured into it. Some of you might know that human birth is in Vivek Chudamani he says, Shankaras, Durlabam Trayamevai Tad. There are three things which are very durlabam, very rare. Devanugraha Hetugam, only by divine grace we can get it. What are the three? Manishyatvam, Mumukshatvam, Mahavurusha Samshaya. This human birth and the desire to know him, to realize him, and the company of evolved souls. These three are rare of the rarest. So here, human life, Puja Swamiji used to say, it is the gateway to liberation. Because only through human birth we can attain him. We can know him and then attain him. So human life is rich with the gifts which God has poured into it. For God himself is at the source of all lives in the world. Tiruvannamalai. Papa's travels took him to diverse experiences, from meandering through crowded streets to meditating in a cave for a month in full solitude. He felt God's living presence in every breath. Every creature around the cave reminded him of his providence. His fellowship with nature was so close that even squirrels would come to eat from his hand without any fear. Because in Tiruvannamalai, after having the darshan of Bhagavan Ramana, he went to a cave, Almera Guha cave, where he spent about 21 days in utter solitude, only coming out once for his bhiksha. Rest of the time he was dwelling on the indwelling and all-pervading reality. So he says, prayer and meditation open up a channel of communication with God so that his grace may fill you and transform your life into his very image. God's grace is all-pervading, just like when the water has to be turned to a particular plant, we normally make a small trench and divert it there, channel, so that the water reaches this thing. So the me and mine is there. In order to understand that he is behind it, I have to open up a channel between the indwelling reality to the me and mine entity in us. And for that, the opening up of channel is what is called prayer and meditation. In other words, linking ourselves with him. So prayer and meditation open up a channel of communication with God so that his grace may fill you and transform your life into his very image. Because here, water is the source is also he, the channel is also he, and the me and mine is also he. But the transformation for the me and mine come only when the channel is open. We have to do a lot of time thinking about it. Then, from there we move to Tirupati. We have time? Okay. As he wandered from place to place, little water, he did not know what to do there and where to go next. But he knew one thing, for sure, that his master has got the plan. The master plan of his journey in life. As soon as he found his presence around him, God's presence around him, he also knew that what he was seeking was within. We don't have the plan, but we know that the master plan is his. Today we have to dwell on this, that is his master plan. Repetition of Ramnam simultaneously with meditation on the great ideal is perfectly right. But the remembrance must flow in the mind without break, like the stream of oil poured from one vessel to another. This is a great pointer to all of us, because most of us, when we start coming to ashram, we join in the Ramnam. We find joy in it. We find an inexplicable positive experience from it. We try to do that, but many of us, unfortunately, don't remember that it is for remembering God. That is why as soon as the chanting stops, we are back to square one. So Papa gently wants us Repetition of Ram Nam simultaneously with meditation on the great ideal. What is the great ideal? To move from the limited to the unlimited, from the individual to the cosmic, from me to we to him. So repetition of Ram Nam simultaneously with meditation on the great ideal is perfectly right, but the remembrance must flow in the mind without break. Otherwise, we will not be able to take every situation as positive. We will not be able to bring in the God dimension behind everything that is happening in our life. So, like a stream of the oil poured from one vessel to another. Kalahasti. What is the whole purpose of his journey? Papa was once encountered this question. One ticket examiner asked this. If you say God is everywhere, what is the need for you to travel? He had no doubt or hesitance in quest of God. It was clear to him that God is everywhere, but he wanted to experience the same, not under the one roof, in the wide open world. It was clear to him that God is everywhere, but he wanted to experience the same, and he felt this wherever he went, whoever he met. To him, all signs and signals lead to one direction, to God. Turn your mind day by day towards the immortal source of your life, God. Let your actions flow like gentle streams singing the melodious song of divine service. Behold your beloved everywhere. Turn your mind day by day towards the immortal source of your life, God. That means we must keep on thinking, where from I have come? What is this me and mine? What is the purpose of this life? If we keep on going within, he will release the answers from within. And that will keep us in good stead and enable us to remember him behind every situation, behind every individual, behind every object. Even if we fail or forget, we will be able to pull us back at the shortest possible time. Basavada. During his travels, Papa was fortunate enough to receive the services of many kind-hearted people who followed the dictates of their conscience. Seeing their services even in an unfavorable situation, with the risk of dire consequences, Papa often wondered, thy one touch can change in a moment the entire face of the universe. In one station, Papa and his Sadhuram were asked to get down from the train. The station master was very strict. Without ticket, you cannot go in Basavada. So a railway police protection force, who is supposed to ensure that no ticketless traveler travels, he comes and sees, why are you standing outside? So they said, we have been asked to come out, get in. He first pleaded with the station master that they are sadhus, they are not supposed to carry money, so naturally they should be permitted to travel. So they questioned him, your job is to ensure that there is no ticketless traveler, and you are doing what exactly is opposed to your job. Then he said, at that time he used the word this. So he asked them to immediately get into the train, and he stood there so that nobody, the station master or somebody do not come and take them out. He said, when they said, we will report this to the higher authorities and you will be put to severe action, he immediately said, these are the times when one should act according to the conscience, dictates of the conscience. Dictates of the conscience mean that comes from him directly, spontaneously, with zero self-interest. So he says, let your service be done in a spirit of spontaneous love, which is by itself a great balm and a source of unlimited joy and peace. True service lies in your not being conscious of having done anything to anybody while you are busily engaged in relieving the pains and sorrows of people around you. Because even if somebody comes and says, what a wonderful work you are doing, you know that God gave the field, God gave the life, God gave us to accept that particular, God provided the wherewithal in the form of knowledge, in the form of possessions. So you know actually everything is credited to Him only, not to the instrument. So He is, on certain times you are not even aware that you are involved in such a noble service. So this is what Papa here touches and kindles. Jagannath Puri, reaching the ancient seaside temple, frequented by millions of fervent pilgrims, Papa felt a deep emotional connect. Papa's devotion to the divine knows no bounds, both in his abstract infinite nirguna aspect and his local personalized saguna aspect. Most of us will be passing through such inner conflicts when God is within me and who is without name and form, who is the subtle and mysterious power. What is the relevance of deities outside or our image worship or saguna worship? Even the intellect will start belittling its importance. In order to rule out even that was also given by Papa, by God. So for people who are unable to fix their mind on the nameless, formless, he also comes out in the name and form which they are comfortable with. In Bhagavad Gita, all these things are answered. Yo yo yam yam tanur bhaktya shraddhaya architam. So I come in the way in which you want me to worship. So Papa, when he went to Jagannath Puri temple, he had a mysterious, mystic experience there. So suddenly we try to understand a saint who is well established in the nameless, formless reality also find equal validity to the worship of names and forms. So devotion means loving remembrance of God. Bereft of devotion, life is dry and tasteless. Devotion sweetens life and frees it from the bond of ignorance. Because only in devotion we get that, what do you call it, paste. Jnana alone means it becomes dry. But when I know that He is there, He and me, the Bhagavan and Bhakta, and the relationship is called Bhakti. So it has got a sweetness, though ultimately the Bhagavan and Bhakta are one. At the moment, Bhagavan chooses to play the role of a Bhakta in us. So we maintain that. Then there is a sweetness. This is what Papa highlighted. Kolkata and Dakshineshwar, crisscrossing the country from down south to far north, Papa was often led to the noble company of saintly souls. These precious satsangs, often held near sacred shrines, shed radiant light on his spiritual path. Revering the saints, he was touched by their values and ideals they kindle in the humanity. So he says, butter comes after churning. Similarly, after struggle comes repose. The darkest night is succeeded by the bright day, so do not despair. Look within for the dawn of divine light and freedom, for this satsang is beneficial. So whenever the morale is sagging, due to various vyavaharic ups and downs, though I have faith in God, though I want to develop total faith in God, though I have great admiration and veneration and reverence for saints, still, at times, I may be shaken. So satsang is a powerful forum by which, a tool by which I regain my lost self-confidence. Because they have scaled the heights. Their life is a testimony. Under most trying circumstances, they were able to pass through. So going through the inspiring life and mission of the saints, and watching various devotees who are trying to actualize it in their own life, it gives a boost to my efforts. That is what has been highlighted here. So the relevance of satsang in a sadhaka's life. Tarakeshwar. Throughout his journey, he would meet people from all walks of life, from those who follow the rules in letter and spirit, to those who live precariously without much care about rules and conventions. For him, nobody is to be feared or frowned upon, and no deed was considered as weird or unbecoming. Spiritual progress does not mean development only of in one aspect of a human being. His emotional, intellectual, and dynamic nature should evolve simultaneously. This is something, a unique exposition. Normally, when we say spiritual progress, many people aim at siddhis. Many people try to diverge themselves away from the common run of life. So many such things are there. But here Papa makes it very clear. You can be 100% spiritual in everyone, because spiritual progress is not limited to anything. It is an all-comprehensive development of the individual. So even when we make material progress based on spiritual background, it is equally valid. Spiritual progress does not mean development of only one aspect of human being. His emotional, intellectual, and dynamic nature should evolve simultaneously. So he demolishes the divide between mundane and spiritual here. Gaya, Kashi, and Ayodhya. As a traveler without an itinerary, Papa often faced unsympathetic situations, but he was never desperate or frustrated. Instead, he found them as God-given tests to remain calm and unruffled, like gold being melted and hammered repeatedly to make fine jewelry. These trying moments made him a finer being who is in tune with the grand designer. Man's eyes are open to the transitory nature of the world through the bitter experiences which he gains in the course of life. So we name it as bitter experiences. It is only to make us aware of the transitory nature, whereas our aim is to get riveted to the eternal nature. Anything that comes and goes, it is transitory. Anything that stays forever is eternal. So all our bitter experiences, they have been given to us by God only to shift our priority from the transient to the eternal. Jhansi. During his wanderings, Papa would often retreat to a quiet meditative place to be in communion with the divine, like a dewdrop slipping into the shining sea. According to Papa, prayer and meditation are essential to destroy the veil of ignorance that has clouded the soul. This is the one, in meditation, your mind should think only of God, who resides within you, and not wander about in the midst of passing scenes of the objective of life. The mind going inward through the practice of prayer and meditation finds the presence of the divine first within, then without, everywhere. For people like us who are very much with our vyavahara, family life, professional life, social life, God has given all this background. He is giving us all this background every now and then through satsang, through prayer, through visits to holy places, through nama chanting, through bhajan, through study of scriptures. Everything is all right. But they are all outside activities or outer activities. That will come and go. It will not remain with us. It will remain with us only when it is complemented by, supported by, followed by inward journey. Because through inward journey, we try to imbibe this, assimilate it, absorb it, get it stamped within, so that all our thoughts, words, and deeds come out of it. That is why he lays emphasis on that. For that, God will provide us also. When we just show some symptoms, in a mysterious way, He will provide. So, in meditation, your mind should think only of God who resides within you and not wander about in the midst of passing scenes and of the objective life. The mind going inward through the practice of prayer and meditation finds the presence of the divine, first within, then without, everywhere. Himalayas. It's already,
Tomorrow we can continue.
how many are there?
11 more.
11 more are there. We'll do tomorrow.
Okay, we'll do it tomorrow. Actually, we will take more time because we would like to bring in the examples drawn from our daily life so that we don't think that these are tall talk. Every word Papa has given it from his own experience, and then we may think only people like Papa can have it. No. When we try to go through our own experience, the life so far lived, or the life so far given to us by him, he has provided us with various experiences. Now we have to try to previously, when we were passing through that experience, only we attributed to me and we. We never brought in the God dimension. But now we will try to think, bring in the God dimension. Who ordained it? Who willed it? Who made it to happen? With that background, when we reread, now we will remember how it was helpful for us to reach today. So this is very important. That is why we say in quest of God. This is all taken out from In Quest of God. That was the quotations are from different, but the initiative came from the first book, In Quest of God. It is a manual, not a yatra narrative, itinerary. Yatra, a narrative of a spiritual aspirant or a saint. No. It is for you and I. With that background, when we go through, all these gems are taken out. So more of it, we will take it up tomorrow. Hari Om. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai